critics from the ABC to Malcolm Turnbull to Kamala Harris have declared the Trump-Netanyahu strikes on Iran illegal aggression, as if the world's meant to sit politely while the Iranian regime funds terror and threatens everyone around it. Well, here's the woman who wanted to be president.
American people do not want our sons and daughters to go into this unauthorized war of choice, and I unequivocally oppose it.
And joining me now is barrister and international law specialist Natasha Hausdorff, and good to see you again. Well, what's your response to those who say the strikes are illegal?
Well, Sharri, always good to be with you. Thank you. The framing of these criticisms against the strikes, both here as a war of choice and as illegal, are pretty remarkable. If it's a choice between, survival and taking that preemptive strike that the president was discussing, then that might be a choice, but it's not a particularly positive one. The claims of illegality are unfortunately based upon the totally incorrect framing of what this military action by the United States and Israel comprises. And it's really important to understand the context in which these strikes have been taken, which is the ongoing armed conflict between Israel and Iran, one that has been going for some decades, and indeed one in which the United States has been involved before, both as support to Israel, but looking carefully at the words of the president when these operations began, we can also understand the US seeking to preempt what was considered to be an imminent threat posed by the Islamic regime in Iran to America, to American interests, and to the interests of its allies. These protestations of illegality, we've heard as some sort of popular mantra, aren't based in real international law, and they're being used as a sort of cover for the policy positions, which are quite frankly rather anti-Western, given the immense impact that this activity is going to have on protecting the interests of Western civilization.
There's also precedent here, though, isn't there? Because Obama took military action in Libya in 2011, didn't get it signed off with Congress first. Then he expanded strikes into Syria against ISIS in 2014, again without congressional approval. Biden ordered strikes in Syria February 2021, then retaliatory strikes around the Iraq-Syria border in June 2021. So there is precedent for this, isn't there, not taking a war to Congress?
Oh, in both regards. So I was addressing the applicable international law, but of course, these same politicians in the United States have been claiming that this is unconstitutional. I don't know when the last time they read the Constitution was, but it makes it clear that the president is the head of the armed forces, can direct military activity. There has not been a declaration of war, and I think the words that the president chose, talking about major combat operations, were carefully chosen on his part. So while a declaration of war has to be taken to Congress under the War Powers Act, there is no restriction on the action that the president has taken. And in fact, it's somewhat unconstitutional, or even an attack on the US Constitution, to suggest that what the president has done violates the legal framework in the United States. So in both regards, both on the international footing and in terms of the domestic framework of the US Constitution, this is not an accurate portrayal of what the law says.
Just finally, while Iranians broadly are supportive, and of course there's always going to be casualties in a war, and it is a terrifying time, but they are supportive of action against the regime. We have seen protests in the West, right around the world, against these strikes. So, what is the obsession here, not with Iran's conduct, but with Israel and America's actions?
Well, there is a pattern that has emerged. I didn't see these same groups protesting at the slaughter of tens of thousands of Iranians who were protesting the Islamic regime only last month. And that is pretty telling. This movement, very linked, it would seem, to the woke position, seems to support the despots and dictatorships of this world. Indeed, it suggests that countries may not be permitted to exercise their self-defense when they are the stronger party. I mean, if you can believe it, we've been hearing that because the military capability of the US and of Israel is so much superior to Iran that these strikes are in some way unlawful or impermissible. The law has never worked like that. Common sense certainly doesn't work like that. But this mentality that we're seeing that has caused these people to go on the streets is very, very worrying indeed. And it is part and parcel of this mind virus that we have seen, which has undermined so many of the interests in the West.
Natasha Horsthoff, always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much.